Welcome to Decision Point, a podcast about overcoming adversity in sales and the growth that we experience in the process. I'm Brad Seaman. Why don't you just go ahead and start walking us through your story?
Okay. I'm Karen Hite. I'm from Nicaragua and I own a digital marketing agency. We are, with my husband, we are a franchise model. So that's a little bit different from most agencies out there. And we serve the US. So like all of our franchisees are in the US. We have 25 locations right now in the United States. But all of our team is from Nicaragua. So it's a really cool thing where we're mixing two cultures and creating a win-win situation for everybody. We're very focused on creating stability, not only for our teams, but mainly for this industry. I think we can do a lot of cool stuff for people and help them with their brand and help them with like getting their reach where they need to go and help this business owners get their message out there to the right people. And I think we can create a lot of stability in the digital marketing space. So we're helping through the franchise model to help agency owners that are really wanting to like create that impact for businesses, but that are lacking some of the tools, the operational knowledge, the structure that they need to have in order to like grow and scale their business.
Now, what'd you guys do before you got into the marketing?
Well, we actually, before we started Hite, I was working actually simultaneously. That's kind of like one of those stories that's probably what we're going to talk today about the struggle. JC and I, we used to work at another agency. He was very much in the service department and fulfillment. I was a sales operation manager at that time. And it was an Inc. 5000 agency as well. We had a minority share in there. And it was one of those places where it was very much like Wolf of Wall Street. So it was very, very interesting. And before that, JC was in finance, banking. And I was always in marketing in some ways. And then I went into sales operations. And then I continued to be more in operations.
So you guys kind of hit an inflection point where you're like, oh, hey, we can do this.
Well, yes and no. We actually felt like we were just like, that's what we knew at that point. We got pregnant. So we were 7 months pregnant at the time. And it got to the point where we felt that our values definitely didn't align with the company we're working at that point. And it was, okay, we're pregnant. We're bringing another human being to this world. Like, who are we? I feel like every parent goes through that when they're going to, welcome a baby. It's like, who am I right now? Am I doing the best I can? Like I'm about to like bring another person here. And we felt it was about time for a change. And all we knew was digital marketing. So we decided, hey, let's focus on this. Let's grow something from scratch. I think God definitely put something like we were blinded at the moment because we were 7 months pregnant, no insurance, no savings. And we just like quit our jobs and I move into.
Now, where are you guys living at this point? Are you in Nicaragua or are you guys in?
Yeah, we were both in Nicaragua. Yeah, we were both in Nicaragua. So that was pretty interesting. But in our journey, we had faced difficulties before and tough moments that I think like allowed us to not feel scared about making that huge change. And I didn't know that we were gonna build, like in 5 years, we got to the Inc. 5000 and all this crazy stuff. With the company, 200 team members now. I didn't know that was where we were going to go. We just like decided that this was not the place that we needed to be at, or that was not the place that we needed to be at, and that we wanted to do something different.
Now, did you have the franchise model? Was the business model something you guys sort of iterated on as you went, or you knew right out of the gate how you were going to do it?
So we started as a white label agency, and as we were working, we were not doing bad at all. Like we were actually like doing pretty good. We were working with over 100 agencies at the moment.
You go to marketing company, just so people that listen, you go to marketing company and say, hey, you don't have these resources. We'll be your backstop, basically. Exactly. We'll fill in where you don't have resources.
Yes, correct. We were doing the fulfillment for other agencies that were growing. And we were doing really well. We saw a need with our service. So we saw that 20% of the people that were working with us, they were like really kicking butt. They were getting clients. They were focusing on the things that they needed to focus on. They were letting us focus on the things that we were needing to focus on. And so those were like okay, like these are the people that really are going to take this business to the next level. How can we continue to duplicate more of those relationships? And I think as business owners, that's where you have to go towards if you want to grow your business. You have to focus on those products, those services that are really creating that profitability for your business. And then once you can understand like who that person is, what are we doing, then you multiply that, right? And that's the best way to scale. You create the processes so you can multiply that. And so we decided that, hey, like we're going to do a franchise. Like we want to really connect with agencies in a deep level, and that's how the franchise sort of came up.
I mean, because the franchise model around marketing isn't something that I'm familiar with. Is that a new idea?
That is, I
relatively
think
new.
There's another company that did a franchise in a different way. They don't do the fulfillment at all. They sort of like create like these are frameworks, like implement them. Ours is very different in that way. I think like we're the only one in our space that is doing the fulfillment, the business intelligence. Like we're creating the whole structure, like all the systems, like all of our franchisees need to really focus on is their service in terms of like client communication and sales. And so it allows these business owners to really be what they're amazing at.
So they deal with strategy. Do they do strategy and all that kind of stuff, or does that go to you guys?
They do strategy too. Like we work together on that. So like our team is able to support them on doing the audits, but they are also part of that strategy for the clients. Yeah.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. And so did you it sounds like you got, so probably similar to me. I definitely feel like an entrepreneur by accident. Like I wasn't trying to do that. It just was what happened. Sounds like you guys have a similar situation where you guys got put in a spot where you're like, hey, we gotta do this.
Like between my husband and I, he's definitely the entrepreneur. Like I'm definitely the one by accident. Like I'm just like, I was like tagging along for the most of the time, but he wanted to come to Nicaragua to start, an English course. And like, that's the business our first business that failed completely, like awfully.
It was like an English.
Yeah, it was
class?
helping Latin America people learn English online. So that was before COVID, before it was like at the time that open English was probably like getting out there. So like, that was like sort of the idea, but he doesn't speak Spanish. So like selling that was the worst thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. He doesn't speak Spanish?
No, he doesn't speak Spanish.
Okay.
So 10 years.
But that wasn't slowing him down.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing. That's how you know that it's not going to work. If you cannot actually fulfill like that's the first mistake. Like as a business owner,
it happens to us all.
If you cannot do this on your own and like talk to somebody and like sell the product and fulfill it by yourself in the beginning, this is probably not going to work.
Well, you have to have a little bit of naivete, I think, to be an entrepreneur for sure. I mean, you can't let details get in the way of a good dream.
And I am the details person. I am like, okay, how are you going to accomplish this? But when he came, we were just getting married, like engaged at that point. We were getting married. So like, we didn't have that communication. That's one of the things that we learned in that process of like, okay, we need, like, I have ideas and thoughts that are very valid, and you have ideas and thoughts that are very valid. And we need to be in communication and synergy for this to work because,
Well, let's sort of talk about being married to your business partner. So is it just, do you guys have another business partner too? Is it just primarily you two?
No, it's just us two. Yeah.
And so how do you balance what are the tips of like working with your spouse?
Oh man, that's going to be the whole podcast now.
Oh, well, hey, here we go. Let's do it.
Yeah. I feel like, it's a process. I don't know if we have like mastered it, but we have learned a lot throughout this journey and it's different for every couple, right? All marriages are different. For us, what has worked is having clear responsibilities. So I am very much like when we think about something, we don't think the same way at all. He's like big picture. I'm like, what is the details of this? That can annoy him. That can annoy me. And so if we want to have a happy marriage, business doesn't stop in the office. It continues. Like you're thinking about business.
Yeah, you're coming home. Yeah, there's not a clear.
There's never like as a business owner, there's not an ending to the business side. And so being able to have clear responsibilities where you trust that person that they're doing their best and you're just supporting them, I think it's the best way. and communication too. Like when I feel like, hey, I don't want to talk about business right now, like I really want to relax, because you take that home, right?
Yeah.
Creating those rules, I think of like, hey, at home, for example, 4 o'clock, it's all about the kids. We don't touch our phones. Like we try at least not to touch our phones. That's really hard. Just be present. That's something that we really like to do. But at work, we work on all this stuff, and just being respectful too, because at the end of the day, you are a marriage. And so in the moment, in the business, you might get frustrated at something. Well, that can escalate real quick in a business setting. But at the end of the day, you have to go back. And isn't there something like in the Bible that you shouldn't go to bed angry?
Right.
So like, you have to like
Right.
remember that at the end of the day.
Right. Not let stuff. No, I think that's super. I think that's, any business partnership is like, you gotta I mean, it can be difficult when stuff is, when you're dealing with different personalities.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with high intense situations,
yeah,
where there's pressure and decisions that have to be made, it can be difficult to be respectful. But I think that's, it's super, super important, especially if you're married, right?
Think about in partnerships, I feel like this is something that our mindset coach at Hite tells us all the time, like you make a commitment and then you show up in a partnership, right? So like in the beginning of the relationship, everything is perfect. We're going to do an amazing business. We're going to impact so many people. And then through the adversities and like success too can show really weird tones of colors for some people, right? So like, it's not only the bad stuff, it's even the good stuff. How do you handle that? That's when your real self shows up, right? Like all those, like even traumas from your childhood, like come to realization. Like if you have a problem with scarcity, like when the business is not doing good, then like you're probably gonna like feel it a lot stronger, because like that defense mechanism comes back. So a lot of those things that you just have to like realize that, okay, we're imperfect humans and we're doing business, like it's going to be a chaos probably. So it just, in the most, there's organized chaos all the time, right? So just understanding that and being open to working things out.
Now, you said you had a mindset coach. Is that a coach you have for everybody on the team, or is that just your guys' specific coach?
Yeah, no. So when we were, I think, at 30 team members at the time, when we decided, hey, the one thing we didn't decide, like we realized the one thing that's going to stop us from growing how we want to grow is creating leaders. That was something that we saw. And even at the event in Costa Rica, that's one of the things that we're going to really push on this year. We saw it at 30 teammates, developing people that were able to make decisions the way that you would make decisions, that you can trust them to guide the people. Because there's a point in your business where your mission and vision needs to be trickled down by your managers and your directors and the people. And like that culture is guided by how everybody feels. And you cannot touch everybody. And so we saw that real quick as we were growing, because in 5 years, we've grown from 0 to 200 team members. That's a lot. For many people. For us, it was a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
So we decided to bring Jose in, and it has been amazing. We've created a program for our teammates to go through. So any person that is coming to Hite, any teammate that comes to Hite, the first thing that they do in the first month, they go through a unbreakable training. That's how we call it. And it's 4 hours of sessions that include like breath work, finding your commitment, techniques. And it's at the end of that training, you go into the ice. So like you actually, like all of our team members.
You have everybody do an ice bath?
Everybody goes through an ice bath if you're at Hite. So you have to last 2 minutes. And
dude, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff, because you get to know people in a way deeper level. And
I mean, have you had anybody freak out like, hey, I'm not getting in there? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We have
one of our toughest guys at Hite, like didn't last the 2 minutes. It's kind of like,
it's like SEAL training. So at what point do you bring the ice bath up? I love this. At what point do you bring the ice bath up? When is it like, hey, you're going through the interview process and you're like, hey, I need to.
We're very specific. Like our interview process takes a long time. Like we fire if you cheat on your spouse. We fire if you are a gossiper. Like we're very specific about the type of people that we want to work with, right? Because that's the culture that we want to have. So part of that is giving them like okay, like in the first, the first month, you're gonna go through the eyes and blah, blah. Obviously, if you have like a medical situation, we
Right.
won't make you do
Right.
it.
You guys aren't going to force somebody to do the
But
ice
yeah,
bath if they.
but even from how we interview, like one of the steps that we have is like you have to create a video of awesomeness, and we give you like only like two specific rules, like or guidance, like you have to like give me 3 reasons why you're awesome, and you have to give us 3 reasons why you think Hite is awesome. And that's one of the steps in the application process. And that allows people, like, we just give them that, like, return, like, provide that back to us when you can, like we'll see how it goes. And depending on the type of a role that they're applying to, we'll see, like, was it super creative? If I'm hiring somebody for like a website creative, like type of role, it better be super creative. How organized was it? Like, it tells you so much about the person. So we try to incorporate that aspect in from the interview process too.
Now, one of the guys you don't hear a lot about this guy, but Roger Penske, who owns the Indy 500 here in Indianapolis, was a race car driver and then businessman, he's billionaire. He doesn't get talked about a lot. He's super fascinating, but he's got this thing that he says, most employees know how to go upstairs. Very few know how to go downstairs. So very few people know how to go actually down and solve problems. They're just so used to going to other people. And I think you really kind of highlighted that with kind of how you guys are thinking about, or how you think about building leaders. Because ultimately I think in a business, you need people to make decisions. You can't get somebody involved at every turn. I mean, most companies have mid management. People can't make decisions.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to go downstairs. And the other thing he says is, and I think this is probably in line with what you guys do. I know it's what we do, is talks about the importance of transparency. Most companies hide when stuff is not going good, and nobody can fix it. If you don't talk openly about what's going on, nobody in your business can help you.
It's one of the toughest parts, I think, like trying to create this company, because at the end of the day, as visionaries, like, we want to think about like the end goal, and like, okay, like we're going through some crappy times, but that's okay. Like, let's focus on that. And at the end of the day, if you don't share, like we share, for example, at Hite, the way that our bonus even structure, like everybody gets a bonus when the company wins. Nobody gets a bonus, the company doesn't win. So like we're all like working together on that same goal, and giving people that clarity of like where do you want them to focus on. I think it's the biggest thing you can do for the company if you want them to grow, right? Because otherwise, like, oh, like we're thinking about like, if I get the bonus just for myself, or that's how we saw the difference from before doing individual bonuses or group bonuses to like a company-wide bonus structure. I mean, here, even the cleaning lady, will get a bonus, like if the company gets, right. And so that allows you to have a lot of more unity as well, and just a clarity of where you want to go.
What's the biggest thing that surprised you about doing this?
I think the biggest thing that surprises me is my own self-development journey, and how much I need to continue to mentally push myself to be in the best state possible for things to work out. And you can see it very clearly if you're in a sales role, but you can definitely see it if you're owning a business. Like, your mood translates into your teammates, into how people feel, and like the culture, the vibe, and being on top of it all the time is really hard. Like, it's almost like it's kind of crazy. And so like putting yourself in those situations where you're feeling comfortable and you're getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things, and still keeping that sort of mindset of like, I can do this, and like, this is worth something. I think it's one of the biggest things that I've realized. And then also how important having a purpose, or what we call a commitment, is for us. Like, if we were not to have a clear commitment at the first, like thing, like we would have probably given up, and, or we would just focus on that thing. But if you have a clear commitment in your life and for your business, then that allows you to push through.
Now, I know you guys have the commitment summit, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. But Is there a reason why you picked the word commitment instead of purpose or some other word that could be? Why do you use that word?
That is just like what I think for me, purpose means that I know what I was assigned for. And I think commitment is more when you say I'm committed to, I made a decision, conscious decision that this is the thing that I'm going to push through. And this is it's my decision. It's just like happiness. You have to decide to be happy, right? Like it's not something that just happens to you. And so I like commitment. We just like the commitment better.
I'll share a personal story. So I've got two daughters that are adopted. And one of the daughters, when she's probably 4, she'd get in bed and she'd ask for water. And it's annoying because we had 14 stairs. So I would walk up these 14 stairs and give her the water, and I'd put the water on her bed and I'd say, hey, I just want you to know, like, hey, that I love you, that love's a choice, and that I hate those stairs, but I love you. So I walked up these 14 stairs. So I did this for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Till she's probably a sophomore. And then I moved to texting, which I've not been a good texter. Like I would just text the water. I'd be like, I got you, like I just send a picture of the water up there. But I did it for 12. So I did it for probably about 12 years every night. And so she turns 18 and says, hey, I want to get a tattoo and I want to have your handwriting. I want you to write it and I want you to put it on. And I said, hey, I'm super flattered, but I will say this. First off, relationships are really fragile and you don't know, like you could hate me someday. So that's the first thing I said to her. I'm like, hey, you could hate me because they're just fragile. I mean, relationships can come and go and little things can change them. And I said, the other thing is like, I wrote out this tattoo like 15 times on this piece of paper. And I think I got the one that I'm good with, but you have no idea how incredibly difficult it is to think about somebody like I'm not a good handwriter. So all your imperfections all my imperfections are about to be placed on you. Like, cause I can't write. I can't write good. I'm not a good writer. I can't write. I'm not a good writer.
Yeah.
Handwriting, penmanship. Yeah. And so she said, the point of the story that she then said to me, well, hey, if you end up not, if we end up not having a good relationship, I'm going to have to choose to love you. And I said, hey, that's super sweet. But the real thing is this was a gateway tattoo. I was not fooled by the fact that I was getting played, that this is just one of the many tattoos that are getting ready to come. My way.
Now I can do any.
Now you can do them all. But I think whether it's love or hate or you got to choose. You choose how you respond. You get a choice. Whether it's to love or to hate or to leave or to stay or whatever you're doing, it's a decision that you make.
And it's the same thing in business, like that exact thing that you're saying. Like you can come up with like a very crappy situation that you run into. You have a choice of how you're going to respond to that situation. Are you going to freak out, or are you going to like think about what can I do to make this better or to overcome this so I can focus on the things that if I cannot change this, then I need to focus on the next things that I can actually change.
Well, my favorite quote of all comes from Saint John. Says things work out best from the people that make the best the way things work out. Now it's John Wooden, not the Book of John. If you're flipping through your Bible, Sunday school stuff there. But John Wooden says things work out best for people who make the best of the way things work out. And I think that applies everywhere, right? I mean, everybody gets leveled with situations, whether it's daily at work or they're massive, and you don't have. I mean, you only get to control how you respond.
100%. Yeah, kind of crazy. It's crazy stuff in business, right?
A lot of crazy stuff. So let's talk about the commitment. Do you call it the summit? Did I get it right?
Yeah,
the commitment summit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the commitment summit? Looks like you got some big. It's big.
Oh my God. I mean, I invited you last year and you said no. So this year I'm just going to publicly say in this podcast that Brad needs to come to the commitment.
Okay. I think I can make it happen this year. You put me on notice, so I know it's coming.
You give me
an ample amount of time. I have no restrictions.
I put you on the spot right now.
Okay, you got me. I'm in. I'm like really in now because I just told you on the podcast. All right.
No worries. I'll get you there. But yeah, we're excited. And following along the lines of like the commitment that we just spoke, like you have to make a commitment if you want to grow something out of nothing, especially if like you're really growing something out of nothing and see it last, right? So for us, the commitment summit was it is digital marketing agencies. It is focused on agency owners and marketing. So that's what we're expecting to get. But more than that, we want this to be the event that helps leaders just continue to be fueled, in their mission. And so we're getting so many people. Last year, I thought we were like, okay, there's no way we can top this. Like the speakers are amazing. We were blessed again. It's just like have you seen the speakers?
Oh yeah, no, I was actually shocked. I was I'll talk to you about it. I was shocked. It's a lineup.
It is crazy.
It's a lineup.
Whether you're and there's some stuff that we haven't shown yet, but whether you're wanting to just focus on who you are as a business owner, from mindset all the way to just amazing stories, like Sarah Blakely from Spanx, she just sold her company, that story alone.
She's got she's one of my favorites. She has a really funny story in her book where, she's copier salesman. She decides she's going to make this product. She finds this one guy in North Carolina that's gonna help her. And you know the story?
No.
No, that's freaking hilarious. So he calls her. She gets a buddy of hers to do the patent.
Yeah.
So she writes it up. The buddy basically is she does all the work, but he helps her. And the guy calls her up and says, the manufacturer, and he'd been saying that there was lacquer in we'll call it pantyhose in the pantyhose. And so she had written lacquer all over the patent document that had to be turned in the morning, and it was Lycre, Lycre. And so they had to redo the whole document. I wish I could remember the detail of what the conversation had. She thought he was saying lacquer. Because she has to call him and be like, hey, what's in this? And he's like, well, it's 95% lacquer. And so she's writing lacquer down. So the attorney calls her and says, these things are going to catch on fire. They're 95% lacquer. So she's like, well, let me call him. And he's like, and they figured out that it was lacquer. So they had to rewrite the whole document.
That's one of the books I need to read, because I'm going to actually be interviewing her. So that alone, we're definitely.
Well, read her book. It's in the book.
And
so yeah, you'll have to.
So it'll be super fun. So yeah, we have Ren Fishkin. If you're in the digital marketing space, you're gonna be really impressed with the people that are coming from SEO, Molly Pittman. Rachel Miller is coming. Ken Moskowitz from At Zombies. We're gonna have. I don't think we have. Have we announced the speaker? I don't think we have announced the speaker. So we're really excited.
How about one of the speakers you can't talk about? Got it.
Yeah. Well, we're really excited. I'm gonna tell you, because by the time this comes, we'll probably announce it already. But we're really excited for Jimmy Darts. I don't know if you have followed this guy on Instagram. You should go and follow him. Jimmy Darts has a very cool story. So he turned and created this whole Instagram account on the concept of kindness. And I thought that this was just one of the most amazing things for us to bring to the Commitment Summit, because this guy literally just on a feeling, on something, has created, I think he has over, I don't know how many million followers right now.
Over a million followers.
Yeah. And this guy gets he's connected with so many people. If you see the reels that he has done in collaboration with other people, it has been amazing. And I think as business owners, this is kindness, something as a feeling. How can you transform that into something that is actually generating, so much an audience that is continuing to follow him? So he actually gives $500 to the person that is kind to him that day. And so he will ask things like, hey, can you give me $1? And the person will say yeah, this is my last $1. Here you go. He'll I don't need your $1. Here's $500. And he does all this in all of his videos.
So are the videos, because I'm just pulling this up, is he recording all the people that are on these clips, or these are just clips okay.
No, he's recording all the people that told him no too. Which is kind of funny. And not that in oh, I don't want to give it to you, but no, I don't have any, or not. So just it. And the cool thing about it is he shows the people that are giving the most are the people that have the least. And to me, that is just I want this event, and I told JC, we got to get this guy in there, because I want this event to yes, we're going to talk about how to make more money, how to get our companies profitable, how can we scale, how we can do all the systems, and talk to people that have grown million-dollar companies, and exited other million-dollar companies. But at the end of the day, what really matters in life is how you leave this earth at the end of the day. Like, do you make an impact or not? And if we can do that through our businesses, I think that's the most powerful thing we can do. And we're just vehicles, our businesses are vehicles for the impact that we want to create. And so I'm excited. I think it's going to be a blast. Like last time we had Cameron Harrington smoking cigars with people at the beach party. He's coming again. It's like one of those events because you're in Costa Rica, so you cannot just like take a plane and go. You literally have to be there. And so people just make it, an event, and it's kind of like a crazy, like awesome mastermind, except it's 250 people there.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I look forward to it. And anything specific that you wanted that I didn't ask you?
Yeah. Oh, anything specific? No, yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me. I love sharing our story. And if anybody wants to connect, just go connect with me, the Karen Hite on Instagram or Facebook. And yeah, I'll be happy to share anything that has helped us grow, if that will help you as a business owner grow as well.
All right. Awesome. Well, I'd like to ask everybody before I'm done, because I take my tips from Oprah, which could be bad because I stopped preparing I was reminded by my marketing team this morning. I said, well, we're talking about the podcast. And I said, well, I read that Oprah doesn't do any prep work because she wants to be present. But they both looked at me and they're like, well, that's because it's Oprah, Brad. Fair enough. But Oprah does say, one of my tips from Oprah is she always asks, hey, how'd I do? So how'd I do? How'd you feel like it went?
I love this. Yeah, I think it was a great conversation. And I hope that people that are listening, are going to take a lot of value out of this. But yeah, I think this is great. Yeah,
awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It was awesome to catch up with you.